Welcome, guys, to the Cup of Nurses podcast with your hosts, Peter Fendera, myself, Matt Slarchik. This is a podcast where we tackle current health news and hot nursing topics one conversation at a time. If you find value in this podcast, please give us a review, a follow, and a share. We're trying to grow this podcast, and you wouldn't believe how much it helps us if you smash the 5 stars. We get ranked, we get noticed, people discover us, and it motivates us to keep producing this high-quality content that we are. How you doing, Pete?
I'm doing great, guys, and I'm doing great, Matthew. We'll see. I haven't been feeling like working out lately, but we'll hop back into it pretty soon, hopefully. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, guys. We have some stuff out there for you guys, some interesting stuff coming along. And you mentioned your vlog at all?
I did not.
I also have a vlog, guys, every week. All right?
It's been good. I've been enjoying them. I've been having fun.
Yeah. So this episode, guys, we're going to take a look back at 2020. We're going to take a look at some of the major achievements and major events that have happened. Even though 2020 will forever be remembered as the year COVID-19 took over, there are some, positive aspects to take away. It's not just viruses, pandemics, and just infections all year long. It is a big part of 2020, but there's also a lot of other things that also happened that I feel like a lot of people forgot about or put it on the back burner for the most part.
Let's go over it. I kind of like it. This is a kind of recap of the whole entire year. And to be honest, even though a bunch of bad shit happened, for the most part, I had a pretty successful year. I've been having fun. I've been travel nursing, all is well aside from what's happening.
Yeah. I'm 26 and I have not had a bad year yet, so we're gonna hopefully make that until I'm 90.
Yeah, even though Pete, 2020 got cut open, man.
Oh yeah, I cut open. Well, some years you get cut open, some years you do the cutting. Yeah, that's how it is.
Peter had his bowel taken out and washed when he had his small bowel resection.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm used to changing my patients' wounds and stuff and messing with their wounds, and I got a good perspective of
this year
how my shit goes down.
The nurse became the patient, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of nurses, one of the accomplishments we could say that healthcare's received respect, and that's been across the globe. We as nurses finally got acknowledged as this frontline worker, and we stepped into this tremendous risk and this challenge of trying to be able to take care of these patients that, that are sick. And there was shortages, there was PPE shortages, and I think it was a great year that nursing got exposed in a way, the healthcare field. People finally saw our outcry, and they saw how difficult nursing is and what happens in the medical field, and that we're not glorified babysitters.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the negativity of social media, and social media was actually the starting point of this whole pro nursing movement, you could say. Because before the pandemic, before COVID-19, people knew what nurses were. They know what they do for the most part, but social media opened up a whole new insight for how nurses function and what they do and how much stress we actually go through, right? Because there's a whole push via Instagram with nurses, right? Frontline workers, nurses with their N95s, medical professionals, everybody took to social media. And they were saying how bad this pandemic is, how hard they're working, and that really, really showed the world of not only for nurses, but every medical professional, how hard we actually work and how hard we actually try. Like you said, the glorified babysitters, a lot of people had this stigma with nurses that they're just there in between the patient and a doctor, right? Nurses are there just to keep the patient basically in their room, make them happy, be the person in the hotel room just makes all their needs met. But it's not really how nursing was. We do a lot of critical thinking, we do a lot of critical care, and we literally take care of these patients. And social media literally allowed this to come to the forefront. As much as we want to bash on social media, this actually helped push the nursing profession forward. And I'm sure thousands of people decided to go into nursing because of that whole movement.
Hell yeah. And I hope that we also realize how important self-care is in this aspect, that we need to be prioritizing that, because we're tired. We're tired as a profession sometimes. And I hope for 2021, because one thing that didn't change is I feel like we still get treated unfairly when it comes to management. We still need more changes to be implemented on a national level to make nursing
staffing
better.
Is still an issue. It's always been an issue.
Yeah, staffing, safe patient ratios, mandatory the breaks and lunches, those things we have to implement across the board. It's not about, oh yeah, you guys are, we receive the respect, but that's not enough. We have to implement change at a national level, and that's something that still hasn't been kind of done, because it just got brushed off. Yeah, pandemic, here's some pizza, here's some food. You guys did a great job. but continue doing it.
Yeah,
Like, we need those changes.
Right. And the changes are probably not going to happen up until the pandemic probably clears, because there's just so much still that's unknown about, COVID-19 and how we're going to properly deal in the hospital. So, like, unfortunately, as much as nurses got beat down prior to the pandemic, we're still getting beat down, but now we have the pandemic to deal with, so we're getting beat down even more. And unfortunately, like with a lot of things nursing related, is our needs kind of get put in the back, right? Like you said, with the management thing, nothing's going to change around because of the pandemic. People don't know what the hell to do. Hospital administrators don't know what to do. They're just trying to get as much patients and fill these rooms and, fill the rooms and basically just keep bringing in these COVID-19 patients, because they got to go somewhere, right? Right? If they're sick enough to be in a hospital, they're going to be on the floor. So once again, our stuff's going to be put in the back burner probably for another year, dude, if not more.
And I'm hoping that, people keep listening and following and messing with us to the point where we have this audience that we can maybe implement change at a national level. Because that'd be cool as hell. Because that's what we need, man. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if we mandated safe patient ratios throughout the board, how much that would change. Yeah. It'd be a great positive impact. That would decrease, stress and burnout for these nurses. Because honestly, Callie, aside from me being a pandemic right now, at least in our place that we work at, it's a pretty cush job, man. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not, it doesn't matter how bad it is, you're not going to get freaking 3 ICU patients.
You're not. And you get a break.
And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, dude, it's whatever they're doing in this hospital, or how they implemented this and how they got the funds, is legit. Like, I wish every hospital was like that. Yeah. I'm not sure where, like, all our listeners are from, what hospitals they work in, but, like, West Coast nursing is cool, dude. Like, it's actually
it's cush, man.
It's cush, and it's like, you could still do critical thinking. You literally still have a good amount of autonomy with, like, better self-care, better like self-care as nurses, because you do get those breaks and you don't get overloaded with those patients.
And ultimately that's what we need, because it's all about longevity in our life. We're not nurses for 5 years, we're nurses for 30, 40 years sometimes for those that retire with it.
Yeah, of course the financials are probably a lot better in our hospital and in, like, these hospitals near us compared to the Midwest. But if they could, like, implement something similar, I think in our hospital there's 2 break nurses usually.
There should be, when it's properly staffed.
Yeah, like, it blows my mind that Midwest nursing doesn't have, like, 1 break nurse at least.
Still,
like, we can't hire 1 nurse, extra a day. Like, there has to be.
So you just do at least 30-minute breaks.
Yeah, right. At least 30-minute, because in Chicago we get like 30 minutes. There's no hour or anything like that, or 15. It's just half an hour if you even get one, right?
You're freaking eating at the nurse's station. You're watching your monitors. Or the door's open to the break room, so you're listening in. As soon as you hear that alarm, ding, you better walk in, better find out what's going on.
Yeah, but the thing is, now that I'm thinking about it, is, like, I'm just taking the ICU perspective, where it would be cool for us to have a break nurse. But then you also, if you implement an ICU, a break nurse, you can implement it on every unit in the hospital, right? So that's, that could be probably, like, somewhere in Midwest standards, you're probably going to be paying extra almost $1 million, a year.
They can make it happen.
To hire breakers on each floor. They can make it happen, I'm sure. Like, if a CEO gets, like, a bonus of, like, X amount of million, like, you can't give away one of those millions, They can. There's a way.
I agree with you. Mm-hmm. So the second one, greater focus on the family. And I definitely noticed that with the beginning of the pandemic, where we kind of came together, we've seen some positives out of this pandemic, correct? We've realized that our lives are busy. And I feel like people took time for themselves and for their relationships with the fam, and that grew positively. Mm. Even though I was away from home most of my time in 2020 with travel nursing, I still feel like I grew closer to my family with, FaceTimes and all that. So family, greater focus on family doesn't necessarily have to be with them being physically there. It's just the relationship that was just, yielded throughout 2020 in general.
Yeah, you could have taken a pandemic. If you lost your job, unfortunately, that's hard, that's horrible. Or if your job changed to more of like a stay-at-home kind of work environment, then there's 2 sides to it. You could complain, bitch about it, saying that working from home is different, and do all the complaining you want. Or you would be the person that kind of takes the benefit out of it. So now you're gonna be at home with your kids more. If you're like a stay-at-home wife, maybe she'd have the kids off to school. Maybe you could take some of that burden out of her hands too. You work better as a team, and you get to know each other a little bit more. Because most people do it 9 to 5. So then you're spending your time at home from like 6 p.m. till when you go to bed 10 p.m. So like 4 or 5 hours with your family. Now you can kind of do that throughout the day. And I'm sure there's some negatives about like a spousal abuse that happens, might have happened to somebody more frequently than the normal, things like that. Of course, there's gonna be negatives like that, but there's also like benefits to take away from this. Like you had the chance to spend more time with your family and take that to your advantage, right? Don't just complain that, hey, I gotta be home all day now. You know, it's not always like the best approach to that. And at number 3, guys, some good news. The bushfires finally stopped in Australia. I guess they burned roughly 27.2 million acres of forests, parks, bushes, like greenery, and 33 people have been killed that we know of.
Poor koalas and kangaroos, man.
Yeah, and the poor animals, dude. But that's crazy, because we had a hard time here in California with the fires too. But in Australia, these fires burned more than 240 days. So they burned in 2019, and they transitioned over to 2020 as well.
Most of the year. That's crazy.
It's insane. Like, imagine, I've never been to Australia, so I can't really tell you guys how it is. But a lot of Australia is just still forests and like parks, and it's still very based in nature, right? There's not a lot of major cities in there. And imagine that's getting destroyed. I'm not sure what sparked it. It was mainly due to like a lack of rain for the most part, but I'm not sure there was like a spark that started or things like that, because naturally forests do burn.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process. So the forests burn, they get burned, and that turns into soil, turns into nutrients for other plants that are gonna flourish out of it. But this has been going on for 240 plus days, which is crazy.
Not to mention 3 billion animals died during this wildfire, and it's known to be one of the world's worst wildlife disasters in modern history. Sad, man. Sad, because Australia is known for their unique mammals and everything else. Imagine how much animals maybe even got extinct because of all this.
Yeah, that's very true, dude. Like, it's crazy. I'm not sure how often Australia burns, because California burns X amount every year, right? There's always fires in California. Except this year they're also pretty bad too. And same in 2019, they had some pretty bad fires too. But yeah, so I'm glad that's taken care of. I'm not sure like if they're still going on. They've ended, but I'm not sure if some other fires are still going on though. You know what I'm saying? But large scale, they're pretty wiped out. That's good.
Here at the Cup of Nurses, we can't track wildfires and everything, all the news at the same damn time, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure in Cali, it's subsided as well.
Yep. So number 4, guys, some news outside this world is SpaceX made space history. SpaceX was actually the first private corporation to be allowed to send, rockets to space, to the moon, and to the ISS, International Space Station. And that made history because everything else prior to SpaceX was basically flown through government-funded programs. And SpaceX is kind of paving the route for this privatization of space flying and space rockets and space delivery, which is really cool. It's funded by Elon Musk. He's the head CEO of it, and dude's a cool guy. He's trying to master space flight.
Especially after I have no idea how many years it was, but NASA, when it got completely defunded away, they have not been taking anybody to the moon in 9-10 years. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time that in Florida they actually sent out a rocket finally to space with this. Because I think originally for the past couple of years we've been using the Russians to send people to the moon and back and forth. It's kind of cool, man. So our astronauts are just hanging out with Russians right now.
Yeah, I mean the International Space Station, they have a bunch of people there. And then pretty sure Chinese are there too. Then you have some Polish people there. It's the International Space Station, so everybody works together on it. And it's pretty cool. I listened to a podcast with an astronaut, Joe Rogan, and it's cool because they're all in this together, and they all speak different languages. And each astronaut communicates to each international or each space station in Earth. So if you're a US person, you would still let the Russian side know what's going on. You would let the Chinese know what's going on. You would let people in Europe know what's going on. So you have to let everybody know every morning or every afternoon what the plan is. So it's actually really cool. It's cool because it brings people together, right? If you try to discover space and you have multiple countries trying to discover space, the best way to tackle it is working together. Just to kind of figure out the fundamentals. Then once the fundamentals are there, then I'm sure we're gonna see like a split. Each country gonna have their probably own space station. But right now it's so unexplored that we don't really know what to do. So the best route for us is to just work together. And it's crazy how on the short term we're able to work together, but once we gather more information and more knowledge about this, people tend to split apart because they want to do their own thing. Once the fundamentals are there and paved, everyone just takes it and then branches off and does their own thing.
That's how that's the cool thing about consumerism in a way, right? Even though a corporate America sucks, right, with what's happening and the destruction of the middle class, without consumerism and capitalism, there would be no motivation to excel and do great things like this, right? Like if there was no incentive, like if we were in a socialistic society, why would all like Bezos, Elon Musk, there would be no competition to try to do something and accomplish something like this, like getting to the space. There'd be no incentive. There's an incentive because now you can monopolize it. Now you could do, you could fly internationally quicker with rockets is what he's trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah. And the best incentive, guys, is shitty as it sounds, it's financial benefit. Like if somebody tells you to do something and you don't really feel like doing it, or someone asks you to create a product better than someone else's product, and if you're both having the same reward, it's not going to be as gratifying. You're not going to chase as much. But if you say, hey, you guys will get paid the same, but if whoever discovers this first or figure out a way to change this, then we're going to give you $1 million. And that's going to push so many people to do it. That's how capitalism works. It sounds crazy because we say, hey, you shouldn't live for money. Money is greed, but money is like one of the greatest incentives you can give somebody in the world.
Yeah.
It's literally it. If you want somebody to work harder, if you want somebody to figure out something quicker, if you want technology to progress quicker, put a financial incentive there, and someone's going to figure it out. It's crazy how it works. But that's kind of like a double-edged sword, because then you have these people that succumb to this pressure of financial gain, and that's when they start to lose themselves and kind of lose their instinct, lose their kind of ideology, and they kind of go towards like the more, you could say, evil route, where they focus more on money and they don't really care who gets damaged from it. They're not gonna anyway stand in their way, and this is how it works.
Yeah, it's like, look at Apple, bro. They made great products, but now I got to buy a separate charger.
Right. And same with
Why,
Google,
man?
Yeah, same with Google. Like they, in their like terms and conditions or whatever, or their operation agreement, they said do no evil, right? And they end up taking that out like 5 years ago. So it's just like,
Food for thought.
Yeah, especially eventually when you get super wealthy and you kind of see how the world functions, do no evil is not part of your kind of ideology and not part of the way you think. Because if you're Google, like the only way for you to grow is to give somebody a loss, right?
That's how business works.
Like it sucks buying out a company and then firing half their workers and leaving half the workers to Google, right?
It's like a good salesman, right? Unfortunately, he can make a lot of money for the company, and he can make a lot of money for himself, right? That's his hustle. But on the other flip side, he fucked over a few customers, and they overpaid like $3,000 each or so, right?
Exactly. Or people
it's just part of the game.
Yeah, people get like shitty mortgages where the mortgage lender makes bank off commission, so they, I don't want to say a lie, but they kind of say things in a certain way where it makes it seem more positive than negative, and people accept these mortgages, and then they're in debt for 50 years, and then there's no end of it, because then you have the interest that rolls over and things like that. And yeah, the mortgage lender probably made a shit ton of money off that person, but now that person kind of stuck for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Unless you can refinance, but not everybody can refinance,
Read your damn contracts.
Yeah.
The fifth one, which is Africa was declared free of polio, and we're going to say that this is wild polio. So vaccinated polio is still on the rise in a few countries, and I think there was like 400 cases in 2020. But if you look at wild polio, every single year there was 75,000 African children that were dying and being paralyzed of polio. So this year, Africa got announced that it's polio free, and that's amazing as a whole continent. So they're able to both eradicate smallpox and polio with the help of vaccinations, of course. I know we know a couple episodes we said how we're not taking the COVID vaccine and all that. Well, this is a different type of vaccine, and we're not against all of them, specifically not this one, right? So yeah, this one they eradicated, which is a beautiful thing. I think what happened with the vaccine polio is because they gave a live virus, correct? So I think some of it still spread between the groups, and it caused fatalities, breathing issues and all that, which not vaccine, but polio causes.
But I don't think polio spreads it's not airborne. I forgot how it spreads to person. I don't even know if it can spread to person to person. Can it spread to person to person?
I'm gonna look it up right now,
we're
just so we know.
Born with it, and it goes down the genetic line. But we'll see. Matt's gonna look it up. But yeah, so wild polio is
it's fecal oral transmission. So it could be oral from saliva. It could be from food. It could be from urine and stool and stuff like that. There's not a lot of clean irrigation in Africa, which could cause an issue.
So I wonder if instead of vaccinating these people, would it have worked better to provide them with cleaner environments? Because if polio you get transmitted via the fecal and oral route, and you give cleaner bathrooms or just a cleaner means of living, that would prevent the spread of polio, right? To a certain extent.
Maybe you're just putting a Band-Aid on it.
maybe we're just putting a band-aid on it. Like maybe if you did that and a vaccine, maybe we would be, in a better situation. But at least it's free out of wild polio, so that's good. I'm not sure how different the vaccine polio would be.
We talked about it a few episodes ago, but I don't have like the details to go in great detail. Like there's only so much information we could retain, you know what I mean? Yeah. But my thing is if there was this crazy pandemic this year and we were able to make a freaking vaccine right away, we spent millions of dollars, the government did, like imagine if we all just invested some money into Africa and modernize it. Totally could, man. We could totally stop hunger in the world. There's just no money incentive to do that.
Because the thing about it, guys, if you take Jeff Bezos, the richest person in the world right now, owner of Amazon, basically, if he doesn't need all that money, right? He could live fine, with like 10% of what he earns, right?
Sure.
The thing is where things start to fail is, let's just say he decides to give all his money to charity, or majority of it, right? And then majority of the world is basically makes a solid income, right? Then money wouldn't be anything, correct? Like there would be, we go back to the incentive route, right? If everybody made 100K a year, what's the incentive for you to gain more money, right? The incentive is basically gone. And like if you don't have the incentive, you'd have to be in utopia, and utopia is really hard to get to, right? Because then once you get into utopia, there's no incentive. What would the incentive be?
Yeah,
I guess the incentive would be happiness for somebody else, right? Because if I'm making shoes, and I'm going to be giving you those shoes, but then you gotta give me something else in return, right? Like you'd be going back to bartering, right? Because how would a utopia work in modern society? It'd be hard to make it function, right?
Yeah, you have to eliminate the need for work and for the need to survive, right? So we'd have to go. It's like looking at Maslow's hierarchy. Once we have food, water, shelter, what are the other things that we thrive for? And those are maybe connections. That's love. That's family. And then you start looking within, and maybe you become selfless, and maybe you could make a positive impact. Yeah. But are you going to have that like want to make a positive impact in the world? If there's no incentive, right. Just think about that. Even us right now, we're sitting behind this microphone, we're podcasting, and like we hope in the future not to maybe be a nurse and just freaking hustle and make money off this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's that incentive. But if that incentive wasn't there, would you still be working as hard for this? Right. You never know. Money's always a little motivator. Just it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to look at, and like plus everyone has a different vision of their own utopia. Right? Yeah. Some people want to live in a forest, not worry about any kind of money. Some people want to have a yacht, have a nice condo. It's completely
back on the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, guys. So now we're going to address some major events that happened in 2020. We have a few of them. This is more of a laid back kind of.
People are gonna be shocked why we first one here, man.
This is one for the ladies over here. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle quit the royal family. All right, that was like headline news for like a solid month. People were trying to figure out why they're leaving the royal family, what's going on. And I didn't really follow it super closely, but I would hear on the news when I used to watch the news and stuff. And people weren't, or the royal family or people in England weren't very happy that even Meghan and Harry got married.
So is she like not rich or not like?
So she's an actor. So she's an African American actor.
Oh,
and I don't know why they didn't like her. I don't know if it was because she was black or what, but basically people didn't like it. I don't know. I'm not sure if she wasn't a high enough standard for everybody. I'm not sure how the marriage between these princesses and princesses work or what the standards are. But I mean, she was pretty wealthy. She's great looking. Have you seen her? She's fucking beautiful. But if I was Harry, like he's not the best looking dude, but if I could get a woman like Meghan Markle,
judgment, bro.
If I could get a woman like Meghan Markle, like dude, I would
keep her, huh?
Yeah, I would, wouldn't hesitate to say yes. And it's interesting. There a lot of times they were blaming the media for them leaving because they would get harassed, they would get so much negativity from them, and people just didn't like that they were getting married. So supposedly that played like a giant role because being a royal family, looked into this a little bit. Being a royal family, they have a contract signed with a few media outlets that have early access to their life.
Interesting.
And they help kind of plan these things. They kind of shape what the royal family does. So it's like the royal family working with certain media companies to kind of work together to present the royal family in a certain manner.
Damn.
It's almost like the Kardashians, if you think about it.
Damn.
Because yes,
they got an image to maintain.
They have an image to maintain, and they work directly with these few media outlets to maintain this image. and they kind of work together on how they should showcase things, how the marriage should go, what are we doing on Wednesday, how should we look, or how should we present ourselves when we go to the coffee shop, things like that. So it's very superficial.
Damn,
yeah. It's crazy, dude. So that's probably why they left.
They just needed some freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, supposedly living in LA now, I think. I'm mistaken. They went to Canada, then they went to LA.
You should say don't quote me on that one for sure.
Don't quote me on that one. I know they were in Canada, and now I believe they're in LA, but don't quote me on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much about royal families, to be honest. Like, the only time I ever, like, looked into them, dude, was, like, going down a rabbit hole of conspiracies and, like, the Illuminati bloodlines and how they maintained their bloodline correct way, so it was very important to them who they reproduced with and who was in the family. So I can see why this could become a issue, because royal families like to maintain the bloodlines in a way. And it looks like Prince Harry effed that one up, so therefore that's why they're getting some backlash.
Yeah. And I think his brother, his brother's name is Charles?
I think Diana too, which was their mother, I think she had something too where she wasn't part of the royal family, correct?
Or they didn't like her or something.
They didn't like her, and there's a whole conspiracy theory that supposedly she died in, she died in Paris, right? In a car crash. But the conspiracy is whether that someone, did this or caused this event to happen.
Yeah. You never know.
Unlawful killing.
Yeah, because Princess Diana was also like, more for the people, more outspoken, more kind of following her heart than what the media is kind of telling them to do, and they might not liked it. You never know. I mean, some of these pictures of the Queen of England look like she's scary as fuck, like she was like an evil person.
No way.
That's just how people but you know how it is, how pictures of people are.
You get portrayed.
Yeah, you get portrayed in a specific manner just because, like you sneeze and you have the especially after you sneeze, someone's gonna take a quick picture and then you look evil. You know?
It's talk about sneezing. Imagine if you sneeze nowadays. You just like looked at like you're sick.
Yeah,
it's a whole freaking paradigm shift.
Yeah, dude.
Number 2, the impeachment hearing of President Donald Trump. That's been a whole thing, literally ever since like 2016. The whole Russian probe thing. Like, this has been an ongoing thing, and that's what's kind of funny too with all this, that like they were trying to get this guy impeached for like 4 years, didn't work out. But as soon as we talked about like voter fraud, right away we have to discourage that because that's not happening.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
And like to top this all off, this whole Ukraine thing that they're investigating, the Vice President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden, with the whole laptop thing that they found. So right now Hunter Biden is actually under FBI investigation with this.
Isn't that crazy?
So it's a whole thing that happened.
Yeah. So what they initially wanted to put impeach the president for was basically they were saying that President Donald Trump was talking with the president from Ukraine. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Zelensky, I believe, is what it was called. So basically, they were saying that Donald Trump personally asked the president of Ukraine to look into an investigation against Joe Biden and his son. And that's what people were going after him for, basically. And that ended up being, proven not true, right? So, like 4 years of taxpayer money were basically paid just to chase a single person that was supposed to be a whistleblower. And we basically went on one person saying that, hey, this is what happened. And we put all our funds and 4 years into it.
Yep.
Without any prior like investigation. We just said, okay, this is what he said, and we don't like the president, so we're going to go after him. Like, it's crazy, dude. Yeah. And it comes out to be not true, and all this wasted for nothing. Like, imagine how much news stories could have been played since 2016, but all we heard on the news was President Trump is getting impeached.
Yeah, I don't think if people ever wonder, like, dude, the news is literally skewing your perception, and if you're focused on, like, look at like this year too, like for example, protests. When these protests started happening, we forgot about the virus for like 2 damn weeks. That's all that was on the news. Does that ever make you wonder, guys? Like, the news maybe should like give us like a broad understanding of what's happening throughout the week, maybe what's happening that week. World news, not only that, but it's just like centered around that one thing.
Yeah, and there's no more protests all of a sudden. There's no more protests. Nobody says about anything about BLM anymore, and everything's quiet now. Everything's cush. Like, what happened to that? Like, all this shit was stirred so heavily in the beginning of 2020, and now it's all, like, gone. Like, people forgot about it. How does that just happen?
They're for sure still creating race wars on the internet.
Oh, they for sure are. But
it's a little bit different. Now the race wars are, did you see the whole thing about something about the vaccine, and then this African-American doctor got in, that happened, and then the whole about vaccines don't be given to older population because they're predominantly white.
That's dumb, dude.
That's
If
silly.
if you're gonna release a vaccine and like, yeah, cool, you're, giving it to first line workers first. But if you think about it on like a large scale, frontline workers, nurses, doctors, medical professionals aren't the ones suffering the most from this. Yeah, we're working the front lines. Yeah, some of us get sick, but we don't get as sick as the elderly. So I'm not sure how this vaccine isn't prioritized for like nursing
Elderly
homes
people.
or elderly people above 70, above 80, and given to people that are younger. Like,
Give it to the older, you mean?
Yeah.
With the higher risk.
well, yeah, I'm saying give it to the older, not the younger.
Yes.
So the thing is, like now, what's gonna be interesting just to look at is, okay, they're giving this, not to go on a rabbit hole, but they're gonna give this vaccine to healthy people, healthy healthcare workers, okay, and then they're gonna come out and say, hey, we vaccinated 10 million people, and only, like, let's say 10,000 people got sick.
Yeah.
Right. Well, cool. Your numbers look great. Yeah, the vaccine doesn't look like it's working. But hey, your dumbasses are skewing the data.
Yep.
First of all, you're giving vaccines to people that are healthy, 20s, 30s, 40-year-olds, and you're not giving it to people that actually need it. So no shit, the data is gonna be in your favor, because even if people did get the vaccine, they'll probably still be fine without the vaccine. Right? If I'm 20, 30, 40 years old and I don't get the COVID-19 vaccine, and I feel fine, that's due to my age and my health, right?
Yeah.
And now you're gonna say that, hey, it's the vaccine, prevented you from getting sick from COVID. No, it's our immune system doing it because we're healthy 20, 30, 40-year-olds. So you're just making up your own fucking research sample size. You're not giving it to people that need it, 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, and even people that they tested, their 30,000 sample size, only like 2,000 or 5,000 people were actually older. If you looked at the numbers, it's insane. Like no shit, it's vaccines going to be less. You're gonna have less adverse effects with this vaccine if you give it to somebody with a healthy immune system, right? Because we could fight off the adverse effects, right?
Yeah.
And it won't hit us as hard. But imagine if you did a trial on a majority of elderly people, and because they already have a little bit of a compromised immune system. What if that shows to be more adverse than virus itself? Like, we don't have the data, because all the people that are getting vaccinated right now are people that are decently fucking healthy. So they're basically just making up they're basically making up this trial themselves and giving it to, like, yeah, it sounds nice, give it to the frontline workers because they need it first. Well, that sounds fucking amazing. If I was a CEO of that, I'd be like, yeah, fucking do it. Why would I risk my company's name and tarnish my own vaccine by giving it to the elderly, where they might have more adverse reactions or it might just not work? Why don't I agree with the public because it sounds nice? Give it to the frontline workers first, right? It sounds amazing.
And the thing is that we on social media, because this is the year of the nurses, because we were praised for what's happening, we were praised for wearing masks. It's perfect because we will be the poster child that will make this vaccine look nice and good and put it in a bow and show us how we're, doing this and that. It's a perfect combo, bro. Like, preach to the quarry, man. This is yeah,
dude. And like, it's crazy how this works too. Like, people are like so blind to this because you make somebody feel good for the wrong reasons, basically.
Yeah. We should have done a podcast episode about the coronavirus bill, the stimulus bill.
We should have.
Once that comes out actually and it gets passed, that's another thing, because that was like a bunch of horseshit, guys. Like, all year we had this pandemic. We had the largest transfer of wealth in U.S. history when it comes to big tech and all these corporations. Look at the damn stock market. Like, I made some money, you did, and we got poor. So with this giant distribution of wealth, like, we passed a stimulus bill that had more special interest than the American people. 1/6 of that money that they passed, which was $900 billion or so.
We should look at the first stimulus bill.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot more shady shit passed there too that's not talked about. Yeah, it's like, and then it's like, you want us to just take that while you're investing money in Pakistan and all this jazz. So I don't know where to go with this, man. Like, we talk about this and sometimes it just aggravates me because, like, this bipartisan system is so damn flawed that we have to realize that this is a broken system. It is not working. It's literally leading to the fall of America because it created so much polarity where you have this new aged, left side that wants, equal rights and, a socialistic ideology, let's just call it, for everybody. And then you have this right side that got polarized by Trump this year that is more, I don't know, Christian, laid back countryside type of ordeal, right? And this energy, I feel like, and then it kind of polarized with the militia, and then that polarized with Antifa, and you got this giant divide in America, and it's perfect because it's almost creating like a civil damn war.
Yeah,
Like we need a multi-party system.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen though. But
Or we have to remove the man.
Like people don't understand that majority of us are in the middle. You know, we are literally in the middle. Like the far left, my issue with the far left is they want freedom for everything. You should be able to make your own choice. You know, you should have a free opinion. But then if your opinion is against their opinion, your opinion doesn't matter.
Yep.
That's what's wrong with the far left side is they want freedom of opinion, but you have to be in their opinion. Right? And then you have the far right side, which is another shit show because they're too stubborn and too conservative to kind of change their viewpoints, you know? Yeah. So that's the thing. That's the polarity of both sides. But majority of us aren't down the middle, right? The thing is...
But they make us choose. They make us choose,
yeah.
And that's where the divide comes in, dude.
Yeah. Like, why do I gotta choose? Like, Democrat, Republican, like, some shit I agree with Democrats, some shit I agree with the Republicans. Like, that's how majority of the population is. And then here comes election time where you have to pick a side. It would be cool, like Matt said, to have another party or even a 4 or you know, 3 would be nice too, but, you know... It's a lot easier to divide and conquer if you have to pick 2 sides.
Yep.
Right.
That's why it's still out. That's why this system is still working. It's bipartisan, and we don't know that it's kind of tearing apart the American people.
Yeah. Hey guys, you gotta be careful. All right, guys.
Careful, don't vote. How are you gonna, like? There's no antidote for it.
Yeah,
like,
there isn't.
We need a new
opinion.
system to rise, man.
Yeah, just have your own opinion on things, and it's okay. You don't always have to conform with the norm. Don't give up your values and your morals for somebody else's opinion just because, you know, theirs is different or they say their opinion is right and yours is wrong. Like if it's an opinion based, it's not like science where, you know, gravity, you throw an apple up, it's gonna come down. A lot of these political topics, political debates are come from a moral standpoint and where your values lie than anything else. And there's no right or wrong. And they're just one person thinks this way, other person thinks this way. It's basically theories, dude. It's all it is. So don't get upset or sad when somebody talks out about your opinion because their opinion is just as valuable as your opinion. Like don't let them talk shit. Like stick to what you know and stick to what you want. Basically, it summarizes it.
Yeah. Private citizen identity. It's okay to have a different opinion.
Yeah.
And if other person feels sensitive about it, tell them to go, you know, I don't know, suck a fat one.
Yeah.
Not really, but you guys know the gist. Just it's okay to express your own opinion.
Yeah. All right, guys. Next one on the list here, we have the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell,
aka Jeffrey Epstein's, I don't know,
lover,
lover. Like when I read into this and I found out that she still has a husband and her husband is willing to pay the damn bail of $5 billion or 5 million. I'm sorry, $5 million, and then let her hang out at his house for 24-hour surveillance while she has a trial in July. It's weird. Why did you? For those that don't know who Jeffrey Epstein was, this was the whole thing this year of the guy that got charged with having, you know, underage women in Florida. It was at Palm Springs, whatever, place. And then he had that pedophile island that a lot of our government officials were on. And just to go down a rabbit hole, this was the year that all this was on Facebook, the whole Wayfair thing, how there was kids in like getting smuggled in cabinets, whatever. Mm-hmm. And all this news got deleted and taken off the internet because it was considered fake news. And how come we can't at least read about it?
Right.
It just got taken off social media.
And then Wayfair changed all their pricing to make it more normal.
Yeah, it just gets a little creepy, man. Like, once information gets taken away from you and you can't, like...
Go back and revisit it?
Revisit it because it's fake news. Well, who the F decides what's fake news with all this shit that's happening with, like, the World Health Organization, CDC switching guidelines... Like, it's like, dude, we should have the freedom of speech and the freedom of information to digest whatever and make our own opinion.
Yeah. What's so scary about the fact that, okay, let's say it was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Let's say none of it's true. Everything was false, right? So if I'm the company and I know this is false, why the hell would I go back and change everything and then not have anybody else access it, right? How does it make any kind of sense? Like, if you're doing that, you're obviously hiding something, right? It's interesting to look back at if a lot of times you know someone is false, or you know you're going down a rabbit hole. If you look something up and it's accessible to everybody, and people know about it and nobody changes it, because then people are like, no one's worried about it. But then if you find out about it and you make it known, and now they go back and change some shit, that's when you know someone might be iffy. Because why are they going back and changing it? And why can't I pull it up anymore?
Yeah, history never fails to repeat itself.
Because guess what? Now, from anybody from this day forward, if they want to look it up, they're not gonna have that access. You'd have to, be on yesterday's timeline to access it, right? Only me and you were able to see who's gonna see if it's already taken down. Nobody, right? So they might as well. So they gotta wait 5 years, and they're gonna say it never happened because there's no access to it. Like, show me the proof. How much was show me the proof if you took it down 5 years ago and now let anybody else access it?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Plus, like, there's so much new stimuli going into our brains, like. Whatever happened a few months ago, we just completely forget about it and we move on. Just like this whole, I forgot what we talked about, but I think Trump wanted to like ban TikTok, right? And then all of a sudden it was like a big thing for a couple weeks. And then what we did, we just forget to ban TikTok? Did we forget that China uses it to spy on us? Like, what happened there?
Well, he banned TikTok for any military or government officials. So if you work for government in any way, shape, or form, you're in the army, you're not allowed to have a TikTok on your phone.
TikTok.
Yeah. So yeah, and like for us, we're consumers. They probably care less about us, to be honest. It's just the government privacy work, like prevent the hack, like the hack that happened a while back.
Yeah. Oh, those also like one of the greatest hacks, and isn't it crazy how much like history was made in 2020, including one of the greatest cyber attacks, which we briefly mentioned a few podcasts ago.
Cyber espionage. Attack, yeah.
Cyber espionage. Like, what's happening there? Just so much shit that's happening. Like, it's hard to know what's true and right.
And it's always like shit's going down, and then next month shit's going down again. Shit's going down. There's always some kind of shit going down.
Yeah, look at the beginning of the year. Like, COVID started happening. All this shit with China, all this stuff with Wuhan. Let's not to mention Iran attacked a bunch of military bases. They killed some American soldiers. We decided to freaking drone attack an Iran commander. There was a lot of tension that happened with Iran this year too. Then we seized their oil tankers. Like, it was just little moves happening all across the board.
There's so much crazy shit happening, and it's so frequent that it's hard for us to remember it all.
Yes.
Like if we didn't look into the things that happened in 2020, I probably wouldn't know what happened in 2019, 2018, or 2017. Something I was looking at, I was like, damn, this happened this year. I thought it happened last year. It's crazy to take a look back. Even like that giant explosion in Beirut or whatever. Remember that giant explosion where they had like the weapon ammunition there or whatever, or some kind of chemical, and exploded and made a giant ass explosion. Like that happened in 2022 as well. Like a lot of shit goes on.
About that.
There's just so much going down, and there's so much information getting thrown at us that we see a majority of it, but we forget because there's always more and more stimulation going from one tragedy to the next, or one tragedy to the next.
And not to mention, since we're speaking of Maxwell, so she helped Epstein with what does she exactly do? So she
basically picked out these girls for Epstein. So she knew who Epstein liked and what was kind of what he enjoyed with, and she would find these women and she would groom them. She would offer them like a job as a masseuse. She'd slowly give them jobs, help pay for her tuition, have them do like different jobs around the house. And then once they opened up to her and they kind of got closer together, then she would introduce Epstein. The girls would give him a massage, and then he would have sex with her basically with them. But Maxwell basically. Not bribed, but she groomed these girls.
Groomed these girls for him.
Yeah.
And let's make a connection here. Like this year, Harvey Weinstein got arrested, which is a giant American film producer, and he got convicted of being a sex offender. So if you really believe into the conspiracy of this island and who was on it, you could look at the flight logs, how Bill Clinton was there. Like, it gets weird what happens on this higher political level that we're not even aware of.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. Like, it's so hard to know because they have so much money, and they're not gonna, when somebody's a politician is rich and doing something shady, it's not gonna be in the public's eyes. They could do this kind of shady shit on the side because they're multimillionaires, right? So they could they have more money to go with, so they won't be seen, right?
Yeah. And ironically, this is the same year that all these fact checkers came out, and you have all this, this is wrong information, visit CDC, visit that. And now you have like this really weird Orwellian start of 2020 where they tell you what information is correct.
Right.
This is the wrong information. Yeah. And it's getting really creepy, guys, because of freedom. I feel like 2020 is a weird way to look at our freedoms and be like, we got to start being aware of this. If you think that politics doesn't affect you or what happens in outside of events, I don't want to call you stupid, but you're just being
a little ignorant.
You're being ignorant. Yes, it's going to affect you one way or other. Why? Because look at Facebook now. They're literally filtering out the information. And if you believe in freedom so much because you're an American citizen or wherever part of the country, well, it's being slowly taken away. And we've seen it this year more than ever.
Yeah. Like fact checking can be good on a certain level. I don't think there should be fact checkers. Like we should all be able to freely look at what we want when we want. You know, of course, like child pornography shouldn't be accessible to the public. Things like that, of course. Like every common sense person is going to tell you that, right? Like rape is wrong, child pornography is wrong. Like that shouldn't be accessible to the public. That shouldn't even be available to anybody in the world. But the crazy thing is when you have these fact checkers also writing the facts, that's when it becomes real scary, right? If it's the same organization that is telling us what's right and wrong, or is also creating what's supposed to be right, that's the fucking issue, right? Like World Health Organization.
Weird, man.
Yeah, right? Like the World Health Organization, when they changed the definition of herd immunity.
We didn't talk about it on the podcast yet. We should briefly mention it right
basically,
now.
Yeah. So basically, the World Health Organization changed the definition of
the definition of herd immunity, correct? So herd immunity could be acquired both from transmitting disease and after a certain population is technically vaccinated, or the word "or" has this disease, we create herd immunity. And I think WHO in October of 2020 changed it where it only says that if you get herd immunity could only be acquired through vaccinations and vaccinating the public.
Is that crazy?
That's a little weird. And this is the same governmental body that is the fact checker from.
Yeah, it's completely mindless. This is exactly what we mean. It's like since when has herd immunity just been related to a vaccine? It hasn't. So you're saying that there has never been any herd immunity until a vaccine was discovered? No, it's completely false. There was herd immunity way before any kind of medical or any kind of medicine or any kind of vaccine was created. So how are you gonna flip the definition into meaning that only with vaccines you could have herd immunity?
You know it's weird that if you go, because I went on Google right now and I typed in the word herd immunity. Of course, the first source that pops up for the definition of herd immunity is the World Health Organization, and it says herd immunity is a concept used for vaccinations, in which a population can be protected from a certain virus if a threshold of vaccination is reached. Yeah. But that's not what the definition was last time.
Right.
And that's what's freaking weird, man.
And now you gotta realize that the kids that are growing up now that are, I sneezed.
Bless you, Petey.
The kids
looks
that are
like there's some truth being told on this podcast since you sneezed.
So now it's crazy. Like, we're talking about like hiding information a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So now these kids that are like 5 years old now that aren't going to read about herd immunity until they're like, 15, 16 years old, they're not going to ever know that herd immunity was ever attainable without a vaccine. In their mind, herd immunity equals vaccine.
Yeah.
Only way for us to get herd immunity is vaccine. How do we make everybody safe? We make it either with herd immunity or direct vaccination. And what does herd immunity mean? It means vaccination. So guess what? The only way to protect everybody is through vaccination. It's no such thing as naturally acquiring the disease itself, fighting it off. Next person is going to acquire it himself, fight it off naturally, and that group is going to get it, fight off naturally, and protect the group that didn't get the disease. That's not going to be available to anybody to even know. It's going to be like, people are going to think that's impossible 20, 30 years from now. They're going to be like, how can you have herd immunity without a vaccine? Well, guess what? When you were younger, the definition for herd immunity was changed. Herd immunity was attainable way before any kind of vaccine creation, and they're not going to know that part of history. They're not. They're just going to associate herd immunity with vaccine, safety with a vaccine, getting past an infection with a vaccine. It's crazy.
And that's how you change, and I don't want to say manipulate, but that's how you kind of, let's just say there is this evil person or evil people or this group or circle that wants to manipulate the world or something. Yeah, you basically control institutions, and if you change institutions over time, change happens, and people learn, and history gets rewritten just this way. Yeah. And it's weird, man. It's creepy.
Yeah. So this is one of the drawbacks of capitalism, where you have that want for financial gain, want that incentive for money, right?
Hell yeah.
So now, if I'm a vaccine manufacturer, I love this. I love that the World Health Organization changed the definition.
That's how you lobby it, man.
Yeah. Why? Because now we're going to be able to sell more vaccines. Because if you want herd immunity now, you're going to need a vaccine. And it's how people make money. This is capitalism. This is capitalism at work. But this just shows you the whole picture of capitalism. There's no political system that's perfect. Nothing's perfect, right? Yep. You're going to have your positives and your negatives, and this happens to be just about vaccines. And it's happened to a bunch of things. I'm sure it's happened about like pharmaceuticals.
Dude, it happened with lobbying milk, bro. Back in the 80s and 70s, whenever milk started, like got milk, the whole thing, the whole slogan. How do you think it happened? All these agricultural businesses started paying a lot of money to the government to promote this stuff. Eventually, guidelines, changed where it's recommended to get 1 or 2 cups of milk a day because it helps strengthen bones. Like, how do you think all this propaganda happens, dude? Right. We could probably go to the history of, this is a whole podcast we could do, history of milk, how it started, how money was given to the government, and eventually how guidelines changed to introduce milk to the American people so we start drinking it.
Exactly.
That happens with a lot of things. We look at fluoride in drinking water. If you believe in this, Jesus, man, I love rabbit holes because I really think that there's more to it than what we see in this world based on television. But if you look at fluoride and if you think, do you think look at the government? Does it look like the government ever has good intentions for us? For the most part, not really, man. Like this whole stimulus bill.
It's not even about attention. It's just like you just gotta follow the wealth, dude.
Follow the wealth, right? They want to make a coronavirus stimulus bill, but technically only 1/6 is for the people. Yeah, we're helping the people, but the 5/6 is for all their own interests. Look at like fluoride, for example. Do you really think that we have a bunch of fluoride in our water to help prevent cavities? I mean, I highly doubt it. You know why? Because if getting your teeth fixed, it's a business. They probably want to create more cavities, if anything. Yeah. Not to sound like a conspiracy nut, but like just like you say, man, follow the distribution of wealth, and it's going to give you the truth to exactly that's what's happening.
Yeah. And the thing is, the way our politics work is like Congress. It's a lot easier for these corporations to instill this kind of legislature because they don't have to sway public opinion. If they had to sway public opinion, that would have cost them a lot of money. If they had to convince 60% of the population to agree with something or conform to it. All they have to do is go to lobbyists and change a few congressmen's opinions and they get their bill passed. That's literally how it is.
Yep.
You're not changing public opinion. You're just saying you just got to change the handful of congressmen to conform to what these corporations are saying. And it's pretty easy, once again, with money, right? If I was a congressman and let's say I make $1 million a year, right? And a company comes up to me like, hey, we're trying to get this bill passed. They're not going to tell you the negatives about it. Or let's say the milk community. Hey, like Congressman Matt, we're trying to pass a bill to make milk a staple on the food pyramid. Like, yeah, it's shown to have saturated fats and, not the healthiest for everybody. But our research is showing that it has more benefits than negatives. And you're still on the fence. I'm not sure if some research shows that's negative, why would I kind of want to go for it? It's like, well, Congressman Matt, I know there's some negatives too, but there's also some benefits, right?
That's how you
do it. But these
man.
benefits come a nice $5 million check where you want to work on it a little bit. And then those benefits, sound pretty fucking good.
Sound a little bit better.
They sound a lot better because, 5 years of work, you get one check and guess what? You have it. And they'll write it in a way that, they'll explain it to you in a way that makes it look like you're not doing too much damage.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come at you and be like, yeah, research shows that these are the negatives, but research also shows that these are the benefits. So, hey, why don't we just talk about the benefits and I'll give you that money and then we get it passed. That's literally how it works, dude. And it's not, you don't have to sway public opinion. If you had to change public opinion, that would take years and years and years of work. All you have to do is change a few congressmen's opinions. And, even if you're trying to do good, and you have that one stubborn congressman that doesn't want to pass it, and you're just one congressman short, you as a corporation are willing to probably pay a few $1 million for it. Because convincing, 200 million people to change their opinion is a lot harder than convincing 10 congressmen.
Or bribing one congressman
exactly.
or a few for some money. I get it, man. That's a very good perspective to let people know how kind of the world runs, man. Just to be aware of things and just like we say, open mind. And I think we should wrap up this 2020.
Do it.
Let's do it. We had a lot of good talk here, guys. Of course, everything with food for thought. just our opinions. Do your own research as always, and understand that maybe the world is not what it seems to be or what you were told to be. You know what I mean? I feel like we came from the womb and we had like this perfect picture of society, and I want to get married, I want to have kids, and life goes on happily after, and save some money and die. And then like you start waking up to the big picture of what the F is going on in this world. You start connecting the dots in these events, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And we have no idea what 2021 is going to bring. Maybe the alien invasion will come out. I don't know. Space Force. Like, we have no idea. But we know that we have hope, we have family, and we'll persevere through anything because we're very resilient humans, correct?
Correct, guys. Keep out mind. Spread the love. Peace out.
Peace, love, and unity.
Blur life.
Blur life.
Peace out, guys.